Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this patch video for Thief Lord from the website Royal Road. This patch video will contain chapters 1 and 2, and as always, I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 1, Laying the Dead to Rest. I chuckle gleefully as I observe my small skeletal army march through the forest, the ivory bones gently reflecting the moonlight as they silently advance towards the objective. It has taken me 3 whole months of grinding to get this far, 3 whole months of carefully avoiding players as I slaughtered beasts deep in the forest to milk them dry of all the experience points they had to offer. I had a long and tedious process, and finally, I am going to reap the benefits. It's been one hell of a long road. I am probably one of the highest level necromancers in the whole of Ascendance Unlimited at the moment. Not that I have much competition anymore, though. There aren't many people who bother with going the necromancer route anymore. It's just too damn punishing. Playing a villain class is brutal, far too brutal. It's like playing a game of hard mode while blindfolded and missing both your arms. Don't get me wrong, the villain classes are the strongest classes there are. Their strength and growth potential are just plain outright staggering. What makes it hard, however, is that the game puts such a massive restrictions upon you that odds are always stacked heavily against you. I may have massive boost to my stats and amazing strength through my summoned minions, but I lack flexibility and security. All safe zones are off limits to me. I am not allowed to party up with other people, and there's a constant bounty on my head. And unlike other players, I lose all my accumulated loot and gold if I'm killed. So what the hell is the point? The rewards, of course. Unlike the rest of the population, villain classes have nearly unlimited potential for accumulated wealth. I have an option of robbing the world blind while selling off stolen goods for gold. Since my class is already hated by default, I don't have to worry about such petty things as in-game laws and punishments. I don't have to care about the world's NPCs that won't give me quests, as I can't accept them anyway. I don't care if I can't enter safe zones, as my class grants me other options. I don't care if stolen goods can only be sold for a fraction of the value compared to regular goods. I have other means. Being the villain allows me to do so much more. Looting and pillaging is the best way to get rich. Sure, there are some moral issues with the path I have chosen to walk, but it's just a game, really. The possibility of trading in-game gold for real-world currency makes it a tad too tempting. Killing for money isn't frowned upon if it's just a simulation, after all. Which, coincidentally, is what tonight is all about. My target is a small village on the outskirts of the Imperia Empire. I estimate the population to be around 80 people. Farmers mostly. Not the richest of targets, but they should have enough wealth amongst them to pay my rent for a couple months. I could have chosen a more lucrative target, but I'm not willing to take the risk quite yet. I need to avoid other players at all costs, as I am confident I can defeat a well-organized group quite yet. I am only level 38 with a small army of 59 skeletons, skeleton archers and skeleton warriors. With these numbers and with a few cover of night, I am certain that I'll be able to kill all with acceptable losses. I can already feel the taste of all the money and experience I'll gain tonight. Just a few moments to go. My small army finally reaches the edge of the forest. Walking ahead, I crouch near the bushes, taking in the view of the open plains ahead. The dim moonlight reveals a small village built into an open plain between 2 large forests. The open ground is littered with tilled soil, and a thin dirt road runs through the small cluster of hovels. Some smoke rises from the village blacksmith, signaling that at least someone is still awake around here. Not that it will do much for them. Grinning in anticipation, I send a mental command for my skeletons to start marching forwards towards the village. My minions respond instantly, staring in silent approach across the field. Walking safely at the back of my army, I start buffing my skeletons. Being a necromancer, I'm basically just a summoner with a large repertoire of support magic. The class only offered me a few offensive abilities, but they are far too weak compared to the rest of my arsenal. Death's vitality, I mutter, watching the bones of my skeletons grow with a soft dark shade. Fangs of blight. Their weapons emit a sickly green fog. Fear, the Reaper. The blue glow in their eye sockets turns crimson red. Cowl the living. Their bones seem to float above the trodden earth beneath them, increasing the speed of their march. My head starts to throb as the last points of a already depleted mana pool ebbs out. It's the most annoying part of being a spellcaster in this game, as a headache builds up as I drain my mana. A natural symptom I personally would prefer they left out of the game. It doesn't matter too much though, it's uncomfortable but not unbearable. A small price to pay for ensuring the success of my raid. We reached the edge of the village without being spotted. Unable to keep the grin off my face, I ordered the skeletons to group up in squads of 5, going from house to house to kill as many of the villagers as they can. With no hesitation, the skeletons split into 6 large groups and head to the closest 4 hovels. It takes a few pinpoint mental gymnastics to do it, but I managed to make the skeletons kick in the door simultaneously. Soon after, the skeletons rush into the homes. I hear a few shrieks of surprise before the sounds are abruptly cut short, no doubt due to my skeleton carrying out their grim orders. The feel of a small stab of guilt in my chest, which I quickly shrug off as the shake of my head. Damn it, Ryan, focus, it's just a game. Who goes there? A voice calls out through the still evening air. Turning on my head, I spot a farmer holding a torch who just appeared between 2 hovels, roughly 30 meters to my side. It's a disheveled-looking old man wearing dirty linen clothes, most likely stained from tending the fields all day. "Reveal yourselves!" he shouts as he squints into the dark night, the light of the torch doing nothing to improve his sight. Cursing beneath my breath at the sudden interruption, I order my skeleton archers to quickly open fire on the man. My skeletons obey, as nearly a dozen arrows quickly loosed in their poor farmer. Sadly, because of the low level of my archers and the distance towards the man, most of the arrows fly wide. An arrow hits the man in the shoulder, while another in the thigh. His eyes widen in shock as he stumbles backwards. "Intruders! Call the alarm!" he screams as he falls out of sight. "God fricking damn it!" I curse. And things were going so well. Frick! There goes the element of surprise. I order my nearby skeletal warriors to charge towards the village square. If I can't slaughter the farmers in their beds, then I need to take control of the natural gathering point. My main objective now is to make the farmers can't rally or force to oppose me. My skeletons quickly find their way deeper into the village as more and more panic shouts echo across the village. It doesn't take long until their confusion turns to fear, until they eventually turn to painful shrieks cutting through the night. "Skeletons, run for your lives! Where are the guards? Robert, where are you? Ah! Help us! No! The panic spreads further as more of the farmers become aware of the situation. The shouting is soon mixed in with the sound of metal striking metal as some of the farmers try to fight back. It doesn't take long until they are overwhelmed with a horde of undead. I finally make my way over to the village square, carefully peeking around the corner to the village tavern. A sight of carnage greets my eyes. My skeletons are systematically mowing down the farmers. The poor villagers were caught completely unaware, disorganized, and wielding nothing but farming tools to fight back the numerous skeletons. Things are going better than expected. I grin as I open up my status page to watch the experience points pour in. "There's too many of them! Flee!" A woman screams from the other side of town. "Flee where? They're everywhere," a man shouts back. "There's nowhere to go. Everyone, rally to the blacksmith. We can fight them off if we stay together." A rough voice cuts through the panic yells. My eyes flicker over to watch a burly man wearing a leather apron and wielding a massive 2-handed hammer, trying to draw the villagers towards him. He takes a massive swing with his hammer, completely shattering the ribcage of one of my skeletons. That must be the village blacksmith. Several of the nearby farmers regain a hopeful look in their eyes as they try to push themselves towards the large man. "Not if I can help it," I mutter as I order my archers to launch a volley of arrows towards the blacksmith. Taking their time to aim properly, the arrows soar through the sky before they impact the man high in the chest. The large man falls to his knees and coughs up a mouthful of blood. His hand grasps at the shaft of an arrow, too weak to get the proper grip. His arms fall limp as his body slouches together. His head drops while his body topples sideways to the ground. "No! Robert! You bastards!" A woman shrieks, her voice breaking. "Someone! Help us!" She pleads, the energy quickly draining from her body. "Too late to save you now," I shake my head as I order my skeletons to slaughter the broken villagers. I take no pleasure in executing the apathetic peasants, but I do what I need to do. It should be over in a few minutes. Consecrate! A pillar of light descends through the air, striking the center of the village square, right on top of my skeletal archers. The archers are sent flying backwards, 2 of them shattering against the stone wall in the middle of the square. The surrounding skeletons are all staggered from the sudden blast of holy energy. "What? Who the frick?" I stutter as my eyes going wide in surprise. "Bring it on, you pansy toothpicks! Shield slam!" A deep voice bellows as a skeleton at the far side of the square is sent flying backwards, its bones scattering across the ground. My eyes quickly find the owner of the voice, and I can feel my stomach twist. Why the hell are players all the way out here? There shouldn't be a reason for them. By the power of Lumina, smite! A female voice yells out, and one of my skeleton warriors disintegrates in front of me in the blinding golden light. Frick! My mind races as I collect myself. I need to. Arcane shot. A massive blue arrow cuts through my forces, slamming into one of my remaining archers. Ooh, that's a whole lot of undead guys. What are they doing all the way out here? Who cares? They're free XP. Balls charge. A heavily armored dwarf charges shield first through my front ranks of skeletons, knocking several off their feet. Focus on the range units. Smite. Another golden light vaporizes an archer. These bastards! How dare they ruin my plan? Not on my watch. Warrior, ignore the dwarf and find and kill the cleric and the ranger. My skeletons quickly disengage from the warrior and charge towards the location of the previous voices came from. Hi! What the frick, Mark? How the hell are you going to lose aggro with these low-level mobs? The cleric shouts. What? How? Well, I'll be. Don't! The dwarf bellows. That's right, come at ye, you buggers! My skeletons hesitate for a moment, some of them turning to face the warrior once more. Frick that. Stay on target, I mentally order my skeletons, and once more ignore the dwarf and attack the 2 party members. Mark, what the frick, they're still coming! The cleric yells. What? Why isn't it working? The dwarf shouts. Guys, something's off about these skeletons. Their swords are blighted. Low-level skeletons aren't supposed to have blighted weapons. The ranger says, his solemn voice carrying across the battlefield. So what? The cleric shouts, her voice starting to show signs of panic. I don't know, it makes no sense. It's almost as if they have magic support. But there shouldn't be any liches so close to the border. For frick's sakes, Paul, I don't give a crap. Help get these frickers off of me, the woman yells. Listening to their arguing ignites hope in my chest. I might be able to win this after all. Keeping an eye on my mana bar, I make a quick mental calculation of what spells I can pull off and what little I have left. Luckily, due to me dropping almost every single point of my stats points into wisdom to increase my number of skeletons, I've been able to regenerate a little over half my mana. That's enough to use on ace up my sleeve. Ray's dead. I shout as a vortex of magic coalesces around my body. The death magic spins wildly around my arms until it shoots off into the square, gathering around the fallen villagers. Their dead bodies start twitching for a moment before the villagers come to life and the second time today. What the actual bloody frecker's going on? The dwarf yells as he plants his axe into the skull of a zombie blacksmith. It's a necromancer, the ranger shouts. We need to kill him. Quickly. I haven't seen such a high-level necromancer before. He must be worth a damn fortune in renown points. What? A necromancer? Yeah. I thought they were all low-level scrubs that all quit the game already. The dwarf laughs. Sounds like heading all the way out here wasn't a waste after all. Daniel, he's all yours. So they figured me out. Not that it's going to help them much. My undead will tear them apart piece by piece long before they find me over here. It's only a matter of time. I freeze. Wait a minute. Who the frick is Daniel? I turn my head around just in time to see a leather-clad human running straight at me, wielding 2 long daggers in each hand. Oh, you've got to be fricking kidding me. You take 226 piercing damage, critical hit from player Shadow Striker 69, level 45. You are stunned for 5 seconds. You take 174 piercing damage from player Shadow Striker 69, level 45. You take 212 piercing damage, critical hit from player Shadow Striker 69, level 45. You take 163 piercing damage from player Shadow Striker 69, level 45. You have died. You will respawn in 0 minutes, 59 seconds. End of chapter. Chapter 2. Restart. A dark vortex of death manna forms above the decrepit altar. Deep inside a Morgul forest, the chaotic energy spins wildly for a few moments, until a pale, completely naked dark elf drops from it, landing flat on his rear, on top of the cold stone altar. Son of a freaking witch! I scream out as I jump to my feet and roughly massage my buttocks. I can't believe that they kept the freaking rogue hidden in the freaking lung. I curse as I start pacing aimlessly around the altar. Frack! With a final yell, I drop to my knees and bury my face in my hands. After all that hard work, 3 whole months of grinding gone in an instant. I mutter, pinching the bridge of my nose as I clench my eyes shut. Fracking hell. Fearing the worst, I open up my inventory, already dreading what I will find. Nothing. Those bastards took everything. All my gold, items, carefully collected materials needed to resurrect my minions, even my fricking starter robes. Why the frick would they do that? They're only worth like 5 coppers. Frick! I punch the air with all my might. This stupid, fricking, hard-ass game. I punctuate each word with a punch. It's fricking impossible. I sigh as I let my body fall backwards, though with the grass doing little to soften my fall. You take 1 falling damage. Yeah, frick you too. With a final, disappointed sigh, I open up the menu and log out. I open my eyes to complete darkness. A low mechanical humming sound listens in my ears as my gaming capsule shuts down. Taking the helmet and cuirass off, I open the plastic door and step out. My muscles are cramping from lack of use, which almost causes me to trip head over heels. I suppose I spent too long locked in again. I mutter to no one in particular as I perform a few light exercises to get the blood flowing again. Staying connected to the game for 20 hours per day is starting to take a toll on my body, as the lack of exercise is slowly making my muscles degrade to only a shell of their former self. The game company only recommends a maximum of 12 hours of playtime per day, but as any self-respecting gamer out there, I blatantly ignore the health warnings in favor of a more game time. I've been waiting my whole life for a full-die VR MMO, and I'm sure as hell ain't going to let a few cautionary doctors tell me how to live my life. My eyes wander over towards the capsule stowed away in the corner of my room studio apartment. It's a marvelous piece of technology, really, able to synergize the human mind with virtual reality, allowing for the mind to experience any physical or psychological stimuli possible, just like in real life. It is a technological marvel every gaming nerd has been waiting for a century. We use it for pretty much anything these days. We can go to work, entertain ourselves, and even have physical contact with other human beings without ever needing to leave our apartments. With the development of high-grade artificial intelligence, creating content for the virtual reality became easy, and it didn't take long for the first VR MMO game to be released only 3 months ago, a day that I had been anticipating since I was 6 years old. They didn't quite manage to create time dilation technology yet, but staying connected at least manages to artificially mimic sleeping, which completely eliminates the need for sleep in its entirety. I only need to log out for about 4 hours per day to take care of my bodily needs and go for a run so that I don't end up in an early grave because of my new lifestyle. Ah, yes, my new lifestyle. My father would throw a fit if he knew what I was doing. 3 months ago, when the game first released, I quit my decently paid job as an office clerk, cancelled the lease on my downtown apartment, bought the best long-term capsule on the market, and rented a crappy one-room studio apartment in one of the shadier parts of the town, just so that I could follow my lifelong dream of gaming for a living. A dream that might as well have been shattered 15 minutes ago. I had one shot at being the top earners in Ascendance Unlimited, and I blew it. Big time. I could have been one of the top-level rankers in the game, attempting to race to the top of the leadership boards, and be amongst the first to sell high-level equipment and crafting materials for an absurd amount of money, until the main gaming population caught up. The option is long gone by now. Even if I re-rolled a new character, I would never be able to catch up to the current top-ranking players, if they have 3 months lead of me after all. No, in my hubris, I attempted to pursue a much riskier path. The fun and unique aspect of Ascendance Unlimited is that it caters to several different playstyles. You can take on a life as an adventurer, a soldier, a craftsman, a merchant, or even a villain. Anything is possible. The hardest path of them all is to play the role of a villain. The path offers one of the most unique and rewarding styles of gaming that I could have ever imagined, but also the most punishing of them all. The characters are pretty much overpowered and should be able to easily defeat up to 8 or 10 other players of similar levels on their own. The difference from regular players, however, is that they are pretty much fair game to every other player out there. Unlike other players who only lose about 20% of the gold if they're killed, villains lose everything. Every single piece of gold and item in your inventory is lootable when you're being murdered. It is also not like you can store your valuables in a bank like ordinary players. No, you have to lug your crap around with you everywhere you go, or store them in hiding places accessible by anyone who can find them. You can't even group up with other players, forever destined to be a loner. To add insult to injury, villain classes have a constant bounty on their heads. Anyone who kills you or contributes to the killing of you will gain a hefty amount of renown points, which unlocks more rare quests and connections with NPCs of the world. The hunt for villainous players has become a sort of sport for regular players, mercilessly hunting us down wherever we go. The game only allows us a single playable character at a time, so there is no way for us to store our valuables on alternative characters. We could technically try to conceal our identities, as there are skills and items out there that hide our classes, but there is one loophole. There is no way for us to change our gaming ID. So, as soon as the player discovers that we play as a villainous character, our gaming ID is posted online on a special website to prevent us from even being able to hide from a player again. It makes things way harder, as a single slip-up will alert your existence to every bounty hunter in the game. Which is probably just what happened to my necromancer just now. There is no way the bastard Daniel didn't note down my gaming ID and is currently hanging it out to dry in some gaming forum somewhere. Frick! I should have never rolled a necromancer character, the most powerful of all the villainous classes, but it's also the harshest of them all. I may be able to deal with a huge amount of similar level players at once, but it comes at a price. Resurrecting and training up my undead minions is a long and tedious process, and the class has no access to stealth abilities and hardly any defensive skills. One single stray arrow or sneaky rogue is all it takes to end my miserable existence, which is exactly what just happened. If only my raid had succeeded, I would have needed to perform a couple of those raids to soar up in levels and items. I would have become a mighty existence within the game. But that dream is fading every passing day. It would take me close to a month to train up a new batch of skeletons. A month would be taking too long. By then, the general gaming population will have reached level 40, which would put me too far behind them all. There would be just no way for me to efficiently sack the weakness of villagers without risking total annihilation by some random player, which would set me back even further. Frack! I gently pinched the bridge of my nose. I should have never allowed myself to play as a necromancer. The temptation just grew too big. Necromancers are just so freaking awesome. What do I have to show for it? For my hubris, I won't be able to make enough money to pay for rent anymore. Hell, I only have enough in my bank account to live for 1 more month. Are you aware of how fricked I am? There is no way to bounce back from this. I'll just end up being a weak forest magician forever, stuck in an eternal loop of grinding levels deep in the god-awful forest. It's too late for me to become a regular top ranker. It would take me years to catch up, assuming that I ever could. I sigh. What other paths are there? I suppose I could always try my luck as a crafter, spending the remainder of my savings to purchase the materials and grind skills day in and day out, hoping for some high-level guild to recruit me and sponsor my development, earning me a steady salary in exchange for exclusivity access to my goods. That's probably the best option to make a living off this game, but it also is the worst way for me to enjoy it. It would be boring as crap, really. What sort of fun and adventure would a crafter have? I would never have really had a challenge other than trying to perfect my art, and that would quickly grow boring for someone like me. I like having options and to perform magnificent feats, more magnificent than laboring for 20 hours a day, trying to hammer together some legendary grade item 3 years down the road. Which really only narrows it down to either keep playing on my necromancer or re-roll a different villain character, with better earning potential and the hope for the best. But could I do that though? I spend 20 hours a day for 3 months on my necromancer. Could I really just give it up to create an equally fricked up character? What if it fails? It would just set me back even further than I already am. If that fails, I would have to give up on my dream and get a new job. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but a shattered dream can do more damage to one's soul than swallowing one's pride. I want this. I want this more than anything. But in the meantime, am I willing to risk my dream to walk the path once again? Will my dream die if I have to give up and beg for my job back? I don't know. It shouldn't, but it feels like it will, as if I let myself down. I want to stand at the top, to be the best. I don't think that I could ever be satisfied being just a regular player, unable and incapable of catching up to the top rankers. I don't want to be a player who tried and failed and then proceeds just to be a nobody like everyone else. Hell, freaking no I can't. I will be the best, no matter the cost. But first of all, I need to take care of the essentials. I grabbed my phone and noticed there's a text message from my father. I chuckled lightly. Who bothers sending text messages anymore? He may be old school, but he does so with class. He's asking me if I went to all work last night. A sharp jolt of pain pushes against my chest as I grit my teeth. I hate lying to him, but it's for the best. He wouldn't approve of what I'm doing. With a deep sigh, I text him a quick reply telling him that it was like usual, and that I might be up for a raise soon because I have worked so hard. It's not a big lie, because they're big enough for him just to inquire too much of my life situation. I take a little moment to collect myself. I may need to tell him the truth soon, but first, I have a lot of work to do. Like most great things in life, it starts with the bathroom. Walking in, I open up a browser and start reading up on all the other villain characters in the game, while I shake hands with the president and deliver a statement to Congress for about half an hour. If you know what I mean. There is a wide variety of villainous characters available to play. Each and every one of them is subject to in-game purge. Reading up on the class statistics, it actually doesn't seem like a single villainous character has managed to pass level 41 yet. Hell, it seems like I'm actually amongst the top 30 villainous players in the entire game so far, which goes to show how brutal the game is. The top rankers in the game have already started pushing into the late 50s, which means it's most likely impossible for us bad guys to ever hope to challenge the top guilds on their own. The level disparity is just too big. But what if there was a way? My eyes scanned the lists of available villain characters. What I need is a class with adaptability, a decent stealth ability, something to counter the obvious weakness of my previous failure highlighted. I also need to find a way to make money and level up while staying relatively incognito. Sacking villages as a power-tripping mage with an army of undead isn't exactly what I'd call subtle. I obviously rule out Necromancer class, as well as the Warlock class. The Warlock class is basically the same as the Necromancer, except they use demons instead of undead. I'm not sure why they bothered to add such a similar class, and I only chose to play the Necromancer because undead were cooler than demons. Witch Doctor and Plague Bringer are also out of the question. They may be flashy characters with a lot of potential to cause mayhem, but they also severely lack subtlety. I would stand out like a sore thumb if I ever was discovered by any players. These two classes are actually amongst the less popular villain classes, as their rate of survivability is pitifully low. I also discard a few other hopeless classes until I'm left with only one viable choice. Thief Lord. While sharing some similarities with the Necromancer, it is also a vastly different class. The class is based upon recruiting and maintaining a criminal gang, performing petty crime and carving their way to the top in the dark back alleys of a city. A Thief Lord is actually the individual weakest amongst the villainous characters when it comes to combat, unable to stand up to even a single party of players in a straight-up battle. What makes up for it, though, is a great set of abilities for concealment and stealth, as well as a powerful short-time buffs. Playing right, the Thief Lord can be incredibly strong, but it takes a lot of preparation and planning to fully utilize its strengths. Thief Lord is actually the second most popular of all the villainous characters, only slightly behind the Necromancer. It is also the most hunted of all the villains, as the Thief Lord is forced to set up shop much closer to home. It would be a disaster for leading guilds if they had to take away valuable manpower away from the front lines to hunt down Thief Lords who constantly raid and pillage their crafters and resource gatherers at the heart of their operations. Since they are only villainous class that is limited to play within the confines of a city, the Thief Lord is considered public enemy number one. They are the sole reason players with high perception attribute periodically patrol every major city hub, trying to root out any concealed Thief Lords out there. If any Thief Lords are discovered, they are hunted down without remorse. You'd be a fool to keep playing one if you ever were discovered. I guess I am that fool. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this batch video. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to go and show the author some support. And if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below. The easiest way to support this channel would be to subscribe and share as much as possible to help this channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next video, and until then I hope you all keep well and safe. Cheers.